What say you, Robert?
I'd just like to say quickly, I really appreciate being able to come here and speak and being able to be allowed all the time I need to express my concerns too. It is great. It is very appreciated. 3 minutes would be like impossible.
By the way, I've seen and read about other municipalities, villages, towns, and counties where they literally use the egg timer.
Yes, I know. I agree with you.
And not only that, but the meetings are quite raucous.
I'm sorry, what was that last one?
Quite raucous, wild.
Oh, wow. Seems everything here is pretty much.
Lack of civility.
Everybody seems to be under control in this.
Yeah, we have good residents.
Before I start, I just want to share something with everybody. Recently I sat down and I watched my videos of my interactions with the town board at the meetings. I actually took the better part of a day, but I watched them consecutively, and it's pretty amazing when you watch them like that. You really, I'm busy keeping my heads in what I want to speak about, and you don't really see and hear everything that's going on. And I'm not the sharpest guy in the uptake anyway. I need to digest things a little bit and think about things. But one thing that I notice is that the last couple of times I've come up, it seems that members of the board have had their own interest that they wanted to raise. It looks like you're preparing a little bit, you bring some documents you want to talk about and stuff. So before I begin today, just to keep things on a civil measure and we don't have a bunch of interruptions, I just wanted to ask everybody, is there anything that you wanted, and so that we don't interject and we don't get off subject, is there anything that anybody wanted to bring to my attention before I start?
No, I don't, but I feel detected a lack of civility in our dialogue.
Oh, I'm not saying lack of civility. I just noticed that I tend to. No, I'm sorry. I don't know if I said it. I didn't mean to say lack of civility. I believe we do have a lot of civility here when we're speaking. I agree with you there. What I was trying to say is, it just seems that I start to speak about a subject and then I get interrupted, and whoever interrupts me wants to speak about a different subject, which is okay. I'm willing to talk about anything that you want to talk to, as long as it's concerned with business of the town of Oyster Bay. But in order so that I don't start speaking and then I get interrupted and I get off track and I don't get to say what I wanted to speak about, I just wanted to make sure that, if anybody had anything with them today. I mean, last meeting you wanted to speak about the notice of claim, for instance, you had that with you. I'm just curious, if you have anything, I just thought, in order that we don't interrupt, and you can address it now if you like, and move on.
I think maybe a simple cure is to why don't we just let you speak.
Okay, thanks, John. All right. Start out. I'm sorry. I know that when we left off, you were going to get some information. We were going to come back and talk about it, but just before we get there, I just wanted to ask a couple questions. I'm pretty sure I understand that the members of the Planning Advisory Board receive a fee for their services. I'm just curious, do the members of the Ethics Board receive a fee to appear at the board?
I was on the Ethics Board for many years. There was no fee, and I don't believe they. Tom, am I right? We haven't had it. No.
Thanks, John. And the members of the town's Historical Preservation Committee, they're placed on the committee by the town, right? You pick all 7 members?
By the town board.
By the town board. Okay, thanks. I did appear at the last Historical Preservation Committee meeting. It was very interesting. And one of the things that I noticed there is they have a recorder that it captures everything that everybody says. And I was just curious, I thought, and I'm not saying anything derogatory, but I just thought it might be something that might be useful here when we have public comments, that everything there would be no question at any time of any, I just thought it might be something that we might consider using.
We'll take it under advisement. We've never had a problem in the past. So.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, just to move on, I just wanted to clarify 2 things that we talked about in the last meeting that I'm a little bit, I know that we went over them a little bit, but I'm still a little bit uncertain on a couple of things. You know that I made a series of complaints to you, John, and we sat down and we talked, and then my complaints were forwarded on to the district attorney. You explained that the district attorney would be investigating everything. It wouldn't, I'm not even trying to put this. although you mentioned the word investigation a couple times, but it was more of a computation of notes and I guess maybe Mr. Sabellico's personal professional opinion on the situation, and that's what you sent to the DA? Or? I'm still a little confused about it. I know that you said you didn't do an investigation and make a determination based on any investigation, but I'm just a little confused of besides the paperwork that I sent to the town, what else? Excuse me, sent to the district attorney. Let me rephrase that. Besides the paperwork that I submitted to you, that you forwarded to the district attorney, what do you, just for lack of a better word, what could you classify the documents that the town forwarded to the district attorney as?
I would have to go back and look at the record, but I believe you mailed a number of items to the town where there were repeated references to the fact that you had submitted the information to the district attorney's office. So let's get the as we agreed last time. First question is, what formed the basis for us referring the complaint to the district attorney's office? You want to note that, and we'll find out. Maybe misunderstood what I'm saying. I mean, I understand why you forwarded the complaints to the district attorney's office. Councilwoman Alicia explained that at last meeting that it would, and no disrespect intended, but she said to investigate yourselves would be like a kangaroo court. So I mean, I'm fully with you sending everything to the DA. I don't have an issue with that, but and I know that obviously you sent the reports or the complaint documents and the substantiating documents that I sent in to you. But what I'd like to know is, I'll hold a report for... Rob, you see, again, you said obviously you did that. I don't believe we did that. That's why I'm asking for an opportunity to check the record. I don't believe we did that.
I'm sorry, you just lost me. What don't you believe that you did? Or I'm sorry, I apologize. But
why did you not, sorry? Why don't you continue with your statement?
Okay, I'm just trying to find out how whatever documents that Mr. Sabellico generated, produced in relation to my allegations, what are you calling that now? A report, an investigation? How are you? Just Mr. Sabellico's paperwork is all I'm asking about.
I really don't understand the question. I really don't.
Okay, that's no problem.
I'm going to try again.
Yeah, we have all day. Let's try again. My question is that I submitted a series of complaints through you, and you had Mr. Sabellico prepare some paperwork. You mentioned that it was 9 pages worth of paperwork. And then my complaints to you, along with Mr. Sabellico's paperwork, were forwarded to the district attorney's office? That's correct, right?
Say it again, I'm not sure.
Okay. The complaints that I submitted to you,
yeah,
along with the paperwork that Mr. Sabellico generated in regards to those complaints, the 9-page report, was sent to the district attorney's office.
The 9-page report was sent to the district attorney's office.
Right. Okay. So what I'm curious is, you're saying that wasn't an investigation, that you made any decision on, it's just a report that went to the district attorney's office?
No, I said it was an investigation.
It was an investigation?
Yes, it was an investigation, and Mr. Sabellico compiled responses to what we called out of all of your correspondence as complaints that you made to the district attorney. And Mr. Sabellico prepared a response there too. That's all it was.
Okay, I'm just getting a little confused because the complaints I made were pretty specific. So I don't understand what you would need to call out of my complaints before you forward them to the district attorney's office.
I'm not following that at all.
Okay, I made specific complaints, written documents, and you just explained to me that you went through the documents and called out whatever and sent that to the DA. So when you call something out, I mean, some stuff goes through, some stuff doesn't. I'm just curious I mean, I just want to make sure that my complete complaints, the 4 complaints I made, were forwarded in their completion, that's all. I mean, you're saying you called stuff out. To me, that means you remove stuff.
No, I don't know where you get these definitions from. This goes on constantly in all the dialogue with you. In order for Mr. Sabellico to prepare an accurate and truthful response, he has to conduct an investigation. He has to cull out documents. He has to go through records. He has to conduct a search of the records
to prepare an accurate, I don't know, Tom, I think this is the process you went through, what do you do? To prepare an accurate response.
All of Mr. Ripp's complaints were forwarded to the DA together with their report.
Okay.
Okay,
So
so just,
what I think the distinction, as I can, is that Mr. Rip, first of all, it's Sabellico, there's no end.
I'm sorry.
Sabellico for months and that.
I apologize.
My grandfather does something. Okay, so, is that he had some confusion as to whether that report constituted a determination of guilt or innocence, or whether it was a report. And I believe you stated last meeting, it was a report. We looked into, we investigated what Mr. Rip said, and we turned over all that to the district attorney.
What I said last
Make their
meeting,
determination.
what I said last meeting is what I'm saying now. You did an investigation and prepared a response to the district attorney.
I'm not disputing what you said, John. I explained to you, I'm having a problem understanding it, but it's coming clear now.
I'm trying to help you.
But it's becoming clear now, so I just have two questions now. My first question is that if when I made these complaints to the town, and you realized that this would be like a kangaroo court or whatever, investigating yourselves, or you realized that these were issues, I don't want to use that term, and I don't mean anything derogatory, that's a bad term, I shouldn't have said that. When you realized that my issues were so substantial that you might think, or it wouldn't be proper for the town to investigate it itself, that you sent it to the DA, why did you feel it was necessary for Mr. Sabellico to do any type of report at all?
Because when someone makes a complaint to the district attorney, in fairness to those against whom the complaint is made, there should be an opportunity to respond.
Well, that would be up for the district attorney to decide if they were investigating the report. If I made a complaint to you, I mean, it just seems like it's redundant. You're having Mr. Sabellico generate these documents, and quite frankly, and don't take me, I'm sorry, I said it again, Sabellico, I apologize. But quite frankly, if the district attorney is doing an independent investigation, and the point is that to alleviate any perception of any irregularities in any investigation, you decided that the best course would be to forward everything to the DA. Why did you feel that you needed to answer them first, answer my complaints in a way first, before you sent that off to the DA?
It could be me, Bob. I'm just not understanding the question. If a complaint is made to the district attorney against a party, the party against whom the complaint is made, it certainly seems in fairness would be entitled to put in a response to the complaints. I don't know if I can say it.
I think I'm getting what you're saying. What you're saying is that I made a complaint on 4 town officials, and when you reviewed the complaints, you decided that you needed to respond some way positively in the defense of those officials and forward that to the DA, right?
No, that's not right.
Well, what would be the point of doing that report then?
To respond to the complaints that were made, and to be sure that the district attorney had a truthful account of what happened.
Well, the district attorney would be responding to the complaints, and the district attorney can figure out what happened when they read the complaints and they interview everybody.
Which she did, right?
No, she hasn't.
She hasn't? No letter dated March 5th, 2013?
You know, I'm going to answer your question in a second. Oh, never mind. I will. And I'm glad that you brought that up, because let me get my paperwork for that, all right?
Robert, I mean...
No, it's okay, John.
No.
Okay? This is what I was talking about.
But where are we going with all this?
Well, listen, I'm going to answer.
I don't know how it's a tangent.
You-
Talking about the DA.
I'm going to speak with. She asked a question. She brought it up. Let's talk about it. This isn't what I intended to speak about, but I'll answer the question. The reason I do want to answer this, there's a number of reasons. It seems that sometimes you yourself have a habit of selectively picking out documents that you want to speak about. For instance, last meeting, I know you look confused, so I'll give you a for instance. Last meeting you spoke about my notice of claim. You forgot to mention the part that the notice of claim was for a lawsuit for false arrest and malicious prosecution. Now you want to know about the district attorney's office, and like I said, I'm glad you brought this up, because
there seems to be some misunderstanding of the chronological order of things. So let me just go through this. I received a summons back in 2012, and when I noticed that, when I went to court and I pulled the accusatory instrument, and I noticed that the charges against me just couldn't be true, that the items, what the code enforcement agent, Inspector Nick Domingo, was swearing under the penalty of perjury that he saw was true, just couldn't be true. I first tried to bring this to the attention of the town of Oyster Bay through the town attorney's office. I've had documented correspondence with Mr. Venditto, Mr. Ippolito, and Mr. Genova since 2012, 2011, 2012. Tried to bring this to everybody's attention that the gentleman was making a mistake. There was something wrong. Either he was swearing to see things that weren't there, or somehow he was erring in his job. And nobody in the town of Oyster Bay cared. I then when I went to court, I tried to explain it to the town attorneys, Eric Taylor and Donna Swanson, and neither one of those people cared. So at that point in 2012, I went to the district attorney's office and I said, listen, I was just a walk-in. I just walked in, so nobody expected me or anything. I just spoke to a regular district attorney, and I explained what was happening. I said, look, I'm being charged by the town of Oyster Bay in this case. It's an unclassified misdemeanor. You know, this enforcement agent is swearing under penalty of perjury that he sees things that he doesn't see, and I went to the town, and they don't care. And to me, I think that this could be perjury, and I'd like to make a complaint. Now, I spoke with that attorney I'm sorry, I could get their name, but I don't have it with me at this moment. And I was contacted shortly after by another member of the district attorney's office. And they explained to me that they couldn't speak with me at the time because I had an ongoing criminal action where I was defending against the town of Oyster Bay. And I actually got a call back from another district attorney who spoke to me at length, which I thought was kind of weird, but in any case, I corresponded a number of times directly with Kathleen Rice, and I forwarded some documents and complaints and some videos that I thought would substantiate my case in the original first 4 charges against me, which you know were all dismissed because none of them were true. And at that time, let me just step back for a second. I'm sorry, but also at that time, 2012, that's when the investigation broke into Bay Constable John Venditto and his misuse of facilities down in Burns Park. And I spoke to Donna Swanson and explained to her I had information on that. She didn't care. And then I brought that to the attention of the district attorney, that I was a witness to that. And I also, at that time, emailed Mr. Venditto and Mr. Genova, and I actually forwarded them a copy of my statement in relation to John Venditto to the district attorney. I forwarded that to them. And then in 2013, I got a letter back from Bernadette Ford, which explains that they didn't see any issue at that time. This is before my whole criminal trial. This is before I discovered anything in relation to the complaints that I made to Mr. Venditto. So when you're reading that, they saw that they didn't see anything, and again, this is my case in point where I say that you read things but you don't go through everything. I mean, Mr. Venditto, you yourself read from this letter that Bernadette Ford sent me, and you wrote, it said that I have hereby reviewed all materials without discussing the matter with you, which I have an issue with to begin with. I don't know how she could do an investigation without discussing it with me. But despite your assertions, there is nothing in the videos or the papers themselves which warrant further criminal investigation at this time. There seem to be some discrepancies between your experience and expectations as a former New York City police officer and your experience in Nassau District Court. And then it goes on to say, if you wish to provide additional information or discuss the matter further, I will be open to doing so after your criminal charges have reached their final disposition. Now that didn't happen in 2015. So, for some reason, you mistakenly think that after my conviction recently in 2015, after Mr. Venditto or the town of Oyster Bay forwarding my complaints to the Nassau County District Attorney's Office, you're under the misconception that somehow the district attorney said we don't see any wrongdoing. They didn't see any wrongdoing, or they weren't willing to investigate further back in 2012. You understand that now?
Did you want to respond?
I'm a little unclear on the timing of all this, because you said just a few minutes ago that you wrote to the DA before your jury verdict, but now you're saying it was after. So I'm just, again, it's your timeline. You can...
I'm sorry, because I have a hearing disability, and I just couldn't understand everything you just said. Could you just repeat that, please?
I was asking if you could explain when you filed the case with the district attorney. When you went, you said you stopped by the district attorney's office, you walked in, you spoke to somebody there, and originally you said that that was prior to your jury verdict, but now you're saying it was after your jury verdict, and I'm just asking you for clarification.
I'm sorry, you're misunderstanding. I never said that I spoke to the DA after my jury verdict. Okay, I went to see the DA as a walk-in back in 2012.
So you haven't spoken to the DA since your jury verdict?
Actually, I was contacted by a assistant district attorney a couple of months ago. They just wanted to let me know that they did receive the complaints that were forwarded. I actually, gentleman's name was Jesse Averin, assistant district attorney. Jesse. He explained to me, I questioned him if he received the report that Mr. Sabellico produced and forwarded, and he explained that he did. And and basically they said, we'll reach out to you to interview you when we're ready. So that's basically my extent of speaking with the DA since my conviction.
All right, I think, because we've been over this several times at prior meetings, we want to keep moving on? Want to other topics?
Actually, what I really want to know is, and the reason I'm asking all these questions is, I'd like a copy of Mr. Sabellico's report, and I mean, at first you, I'm sorry, did you want to say something?
Rob, direct your comment.
I apologize. Originally you said that you would provide it to me, and then it turned out to be a FOIL request, and now what I'm confused about is you denied it, or not you, I'm sorry, no, I mean, the Town of Oyster Bay denied my FOIL request for that report, and they specifically denied it under only one legal exemption. So for instance, if I decided to do an Article 78, you couldn't add more things on, or I couldn't see it, but the legal exemption is that it's an investigation. But you're sitting up here telling me that it's not an investigation, so can I get a copy of that report? Can I please see the report? Quite frankly, John, before you reply, I don't understand why you don't want me to see it.
No, I'm not going to reply. Take all the time you need.
Okay.
Rob.
I just don't understand why you don't want me to see the report.
What's that?
I said I don't understand why you won't release Mr. Sabellico's report to me.
You just gave the reasons. You just gave the reasons.
What's the reason?
Because it's part of a district attorney's investigation. You just said it yourself.
But I'm sorry, but your logic is flawed, because you don't know what the district attorney's doing with it. You don't know. You just told me that it was a report that is non-judgmental. And first of all, why would the district attorney be relying on any suggestion that the town might make to them, whether there was guilt or innocence in those things?
Listen, I'll try one more time.
Okay.
And then after this, we'll just like...
No, we'll move on.
Yeah, we'll move on. We'll just listen to what you have to say, because I don't have to... I'll try one more time. Tom Sabellico did an investigation, and he came up with a report which was submitted to the district attorney. It is a statement of facts from the Town of Oyster Bay standpoint. It was submitted to the district attorney in response to allegations that you made against the Town of Oyster Bay. I don't think I can say it any clearer than that, Rob.
I understand exactly what you're saying, and I'm just going to say one last thing and I'll move on. I'm just totally dumbfounded that if you were forwarding all my allegations to the district attorney to investigate, because that would be the ethical thing to do, why you needed Mr. Sabellico to do any type of report.
Okay.
Just moving on to the next thing. Again, reviewing specifically the last meeting.
Rob,
I'm sorry, go ahead, John.
No, I can hear you inside of it right now.
I'll wait for you to come back. I'm sorry. I'll wait for you.
No, continue. I can hear you. Yeah, why don't we do that? Let's take a break.
All right, great. Take a break. Cool.
I'm sorry, Rob.
It's okay. I just want to make sure everybody's aware.
I can hear you inside anyway.
Okay, fantastic. So what I was saying was, well, another thing that, like I say, I sometimes have to look at something a dozen times, and every time I do, something else pops into my mind, and I say to myself, well, how thick are you? Why didn't you think of that to begin with? So with that in mind, I was watching the last meeting, and you made a statement. You made it about 5 times. You were willing to dismiss the charges against me. You wanted to, as a matter of fact, the town attorney reminded you that you wanted to dismiss the charges against me, and the town attorney wanted to dismiss the charges against me, offered to dismiss the charges against me. But we couldn't come to a monetary settlement that I wanted too much money from the town. You tried your best to okay? Correct, right?
I don't know. You know, we've gone over this so many times. I think the best way to say it is, as part of the settlement discussions that we were having, one of the things under consideration was to dismiss the charges.
Okay, fair enough. So here's my question, John. And I don't know why it took me so long to think of this, especially with a background on law enforcement. But in my opinion, the only time that anyone, whether it's a prosecutor or a civil attorney, the only time that anyone is discussing dismissing charges and coming to a settlement, in this case, a false arrest malicious prosecution settlement, was when they realized that the person is innocent. What other reason would you ever have of having discussions with me, being willing to dismiss the charges, and be considering a settlement unless you knew that I was innocent? I mean, I believe that you knew that I was innocent, but you were afraid I was going to sue the town for malicious prosecution and false arrest. You saw all the complaints. I mean, I sent the complaints in to the town, and when I sent them in, I faxed them to about 15 different town fax numbers with a note on it. If received an error, please forward to John Venditto, because I wanted everyone in the town to know that I was making these complaints. We had our meeting. I think it's irregular that the town attorney didn't handle any legal settlement. And another thing that struck me as weird is you specifically said in the last meeting that you were not aware of the notice of claim when we were discussing a possible settlement and dismissal of charges. And again, I have to ask you, if you weren't aware of the notice of claim, why would you even be considering dismissing charges or a settlement?
Well, I got to be candid with you. I don't even understand the question.
Well, I'll rephrase it to you, John.
You can try again, but
Okay, no problem. Just read all day. All right, so I ran this by a bunch of friends of mine in law enforcement, and a bunch of attorney friends I have, and they didn't have a problem seeing it. You admitted, you stated, not that you admitted, but you stated 5 individual times in the last meeting that you wanted to dismiss the charges, you were trying to negotiate a monetary settlement, but I wanted too much money, and I took my bat and ball and left. That's what you said. And what I'm asking you now is, I have yet to ask anyone that's answered differently, but the only reason that I know that anyone would be considering dismissing charges and a settlement is that they know there are no merits to the charges. So in my opinion, just let me finish for a second, John. In my opinion, I believe that you read all the reports. I mean, I have a message from you, a recorded message that you admitted that you saw. You read most of the documents. You spoke to me. You got an idea of what my issue was. You were willing to dismiss the charges, and you were attempting to negotiate a settlement with me, and then it all fell apart. I mean, I could go into why it all fell apart, but it's irrelevant. The point is that I mean, you wouldn't be considering dismissing the charges after 3 years. It's not like this happened day one when I notified you back in 2011 that I was having issues with the town. I went through 3 years of legal prosecution. I went through a full jury trial. I was actually waiting for the sentencing when we finally spoke. I mean, you could have spoke to me any time in those 3 years, but you waited to the very end. So after all that, at the very end of the town's relentless prosecution of me for this heinous crime of parking my boat on the side of my house, why at the very end were you willing to dismiss the charges and to discuss settlement?
I don't think that even resembles the first question you asked me. What is the question you're asking me now? No, because let me, Rob.
Go ahead, John. I'm going to get my water. I can hear you. I'm just going to grab my water. Go ahead, John.
The first time you said to me, a person wouldn't dismiss charges unless they thought the person was innocent. Now you're asking a question that says, why did you not offer to dismiss the charges until whatever date?
That's not the question, John.
No, I'm trying to find out what is the question.
Okay, my question is, and I'll put it back into perspective. I got the summons in 2012. I was convicted in 2015. Okay, you already saw the court file. the town attorney, Matt Rosea, worked diligently.
When are you talking about?
Excuse me?
When did I see the qualification?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'll be specific. I understand, no problem. In one of my previous town meetings, I came in with a large stack of documents, and I explained that these were the whole criminal court proceeding, the whole criminal court file. Do you recall that?
Not really, no.
Not really. It was about 4 or 5 meetings ago, so I can understand you're a busy guy. In any case, so after the town diligently working to prosecute me for this crime for 3 years, you were aware of my prosecution through the whole 3 years? Len Genova was aware?
See, that's where this is why.
Well, I'll rephrase. I wrote to you. Okay, let's say that you weren't aware.
Go ahead.
Okay? But you're right, John. You're right. I'm learning. You're right.
Oh, I'm right.
You're right. All right, I'm learning.
It's a long time.
No, it's cool. All right, so let me rephrase it. I started corresponding. Most of it was a one-way correspondence, but I started corresponding with your office. I'm laughing because of the echo, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I started corresponding with your office and with Mr. Genova and with Mr. Ippolito actually back in 2011 when I first got involved with the town, because right off the bat, you know as well as I do, I didn't think that the code actually spelled out I couldn't park my boat on my yard. But in any case, what I'm saying is, and what my question is, after 3 years of relentless prosecution with the town, after a full jury trial, must have cost the town tens of thousands of dollars, I don't know, 34, I don't know. But in any case, at the very last minute, no, I'm going to take that back. It wasn't the last minute. In any case, after this prolonged time of me attempting to communicate with you through written mail and through email, all right, I started to come to the town meetings, and at that point, you asked for the opportunity not to discuss everything up here, but to do it, you know, privately to you guys, and I agreed. I didn't have an issue with that, and I'm sorry. So now, getting back to my question, it's now that we have the background, my question is, after all that time and all that work by the town attorney to convict me, now that you read my complaints, now we sat down together, and I have a phone message from you that says, I read your stuff and I understand, and I want to make sure this never happens to anyone again. I'm going to have speaks with my people. Now you're discussing dismissing the charges in a settlement. So my question is, for what reason? After all this time trying to convict me, now that I brought these allegations of misconduct against town officials to your attention, now all of a sudden it's a complete 180, and the town, now we're in negotiations for a settlement for false arrest and malicious prosecution, because that's what the notice of claim was for, and we're in negotiations where you want to dismiss the charges, but I want too much money. That's what you said. You said it 5 times at the last meeting. So, in my opinion...
By the way, if it's 5 times, I accept that, but I don't know that.
Okay. Well, that video is available. You can watch it on... It's public on YouTube.
I said I accept it.
Okay, I'm sorry. So my question is, John, if I was guilty, or my question, rather, let me rephrase it. Excuse me for a second.
Sure, take your time.
It's my perspective, my professional opinion, from my experience in law enforcement, that the only time that anyone is considering dismissing charges or a settlement in a false arrest, malicious prosecution case is when they realize that the defendant is innocent. So my opinion is that you knew, I almost said I'm sorry, I know. My opinion is that you realized that I was innocent, you wanted to dismiss the charges, but you were afraid of a number of things. You were afraid that I was going to sue the town if you dismissed the charges, and you were afraid that if excuse me, let me just take that back for a second. My point is that it's my opinion that obviously you had to know there was some issue, that at the very least there had to be some glimmer of innocence on my part for you to be willing to dismiss the charges and to discuss a settlement. So I'd like to ask you, do you think, I mean, when you were willing to dismiss the charges, did you think I was innocent?
I didn't know. I didn't know the answer to that question. I don't know it now. Here's what I'm saying to you.
Okay.
What I'm trying to tell you is, and we could have saved about 20 minutes, but there are many reasons why you might dismiss the charges. out of a sense of fairness, out of a sense of justice, in order to make a settlement, in order to repair for a bad record, and to say, you know what, because I think the offer to dismiss the charges was made to you before trial, as I recall, and I think you said...
I don't think so.
Okay, that's my understanding, that's what...
I mean, I'm sorry, but I don't interpret. Are you saying that the offer was made to me to just... Are you talking about a plea bargain, or where I could plead to a lesser crime? Or are you saying that at some point I was offered by the town attorney to completely dismiss the charges?
Yeah, in that sense.
Yeah, Supervisor, I think in the course of the trial, there was an offer made on the record to a conditional discharge.
Okay.
It's on the record, plea bargain, so my point is...
There are many, well...
I'm sorry, go ahead, you finished.
I'm
sorry, I thought you were finished.
No, I mean, there are a number of reasons. I'm not a prosecutor, I'm not a judge. I'm a town supervisor who's sitting with a resident who has problems with the town. That is a very uncomfortable position for a town supervisor to be in, because I represent you. I don't want unhappy customers. I want my residents to be happy. And when I became intimately familiar with what was going on here, and you came up to the town board, I suggested that we meet to try to work things out. My goodness, I can't imagine how many times I said this, but I know. Try it one more time. And we met. And in the course of working out all of the issues, one of the things that occurred to me is, as I don't want to call it a bargaining chip because that sounds kind of cold, but one of the things that could be done in order to get ourselves out from under all of the issues would be to dismiss the charges. That was just a judgment call on my part. In fact, we had dialogue that went on to say, apropos of what we were talking about before, we also agreed that if the charges, if we couldn't amicably resolve our differences, we both agreed the matter would go to the district attorney's office. We both said that at the time. In fact, afterwards, you continued to write to me saying, you promised you were going to send them to the DA. Well, I did send them to the DA. But yet you're still asking me, why did you send it to the DA? How did it get to the DA?
Well, we already answered that. I'm asking something else now.
We discussed all that beforehand. No, I'm trying to tell you, when you're putting together...
Well, I'm sorry.
Let me finish. When you're putting together a settlement agreement, there are a lot of factors. I thought it would be a fair thing to do in light of the history here. Enough was enough. And in my judgment, dropping the charges might go a long way towards creating the kind of goodwill you need to make a good settlement. You raised the issue of money. You said you wanted money. That was another issue that was discussed. So what I'm saying is all of these, you can't just isolate any one. No. The idea was to come up with a settlement arrangement that would keep us both satisfied and say, you know what, that's fair. Let's end all the turmoil and chaos.
Well, what I find a little confusing is, what were the issues that you're speaking about? I mean, to me, the issues were probably, why don't you answer? What were the issues that you were concerned about rectifying by this possible settlement?
I don't understand.
Well, you just said to me, we discussed issues. This is what happens in a settlement.
I just identified the issues to you.
No, you didn't.
My goodness, I said.
I mean, let me ask you this. Let me just ask you straight up. Because you were although in retrospect, I think it might have been, I mean, I don't know if you as a town supervisor make it a habit to have, one-on-one meetings with the residents of the town and to personally negotiate false arrest, malicious prosecution settlements. But
well, I make it a habit to have a lot of one-on-one meetings with the residents of my town.
Well, why did you wait?
The first false.
I mean, I started writing to you in 2011. Why did you wait until right before my conviction to reach out to me?
But I just got done telling you, like literally minutes ago. I became intimately aware of the facts of the case around the time you started coming up to the town board.
Oh.
There's like 2,000 of these cases a year.
Oh, I'm confused. I just get a little confused because, I mean, I was writing certified mail right to you for 3 years.
Right.
And it took me coming up here for you to become intimate with my situation?
No. The matter had been going on through departments, town attorneys, the Department of Planning and Development, much like thousands of other cases go through in the town. I can't possibly tell you. I'm not familiar with every case.
Okay, but you're familiar with my case.
You brought it to my attention when you came here.
Okay, and you don't have to get upset, John. That's
I'm
right.
not Rob.
And,
no, don't do that. Don't, wait, I'm not going to let you do that. don't characterize me as being upset. I'm not the least bit upset.
Okay, great.
I'm trying to
I'm
explain
sorry.
to you.
I just thought you looked like you're
No,
upset.
but you know what?
No problem.
What's happening here is we've just been over this so many times.
No, this is the first time I'm ever asking you this. So what I'm saying is, you specifically were aware of my condition and my situation, and you offered to dismiss the charges, and you were negotiating a settlement to me. And I want to ask you, because you were the one that was negotiating the deal, why did you want to dismiss the charges against me?
Well, you know what? It's been asked and answered.
You haven't answered, John.
Yeah, Rob, I have. What I said to you was, I'll do it one more time, because I don't know where else to go with this. First of all, I didn't offer to dismiss the charges. I said, as part of the settlement negotiations, we would consider dismissing the charges. And I did so out of a sense of fairness, out of a sense of trying to bring about an overall resolution of the difficulties that existed at the time.
What difficulties? What were the difficulties? Tell me the difficulties.
You made countless complaints to district attorneys.
But you said that those complaints had no merit. You said your personal opinion was you found no wrongdoing. Why would you want to dismiss charges against me if I was guilty of parking my boat on the side of my house and everything and all the allegations which you read before our meetings? If you agreed that I was guilty of everything and there was no wrongdoing, why would you be considering dismissing anything and any negotiation?
Rob, you must have cut me off, I don't know how many times. You're obviously not interested. You want to
I'm interested. I'm interested in that.
You're interested in coming up here and making statements. So why don't you make the statements and let's go.
I don't have any statements to make. I'm asking you a question, John. It just strikes me as odd. After all that time the town fighting to convict me, okay, why were we even discussing dismissing the charges on the settlement? There's got to be some reason. I mean, yes, I felt that I was severely mistreated by the town to the point where I felt that if in fact I was exonerated at trial, that I would sue the town for false arrest and malicious prosecution. And in order to do so, as you know as an attorney, you have a certain period of time to file a notice of claim, which is what I did. So you knew that I wanted to sue the town if I was found innocent, and then you had these meetings with me, and I mean, 5 times last meeting you basically said, you almost, I mean, watch the last meeting, you're almost insisting that you wanted to dismiss the charges, but I wanted too much money. So I just want to know, why did you want to dismiss? I mean, if you just because you thought I was a good guy or something, it's okay. I just want to know, why did you want to dismiss the charges?
I already told you that. I said to you, you were a resident who had a lot of issues with the town, and I wanted to resolve the issues. My judgment, my sense of fairness told me that one of the things that would help us resolve it was the dismissal of the charges. I don't know how else to say it, Robert.
But the issues were my complaints on the town that you since said bear no merit. So again, if you were concerned about my issues that bear no merit, I'm lost why you want to dismiss my charges.
What does that mean, your issues bear no merit? I don't follow that.
Well, I asked you for a definition of what my issues are, okay? I'm led to believe that they're the complaints that I made to the town about misconduct of town officials.
Of course.
Okay, so you also made a statement on the record that it was your own personal opinion that there was no wrongdoing found.
In my opinion,
right? Okay, so before we spoke, you left me a voicemail that you said you reviewed you just about got through all of my multitude of documents and my complaints. So if you didn't think there was any merit to my complaints, if you didn't think there was any wrongdoing found, why would you dismiss the charges? Are you saying that initially you thought my complaints might have merit, but after reading Mr. Sabellico's report, you changed your mind?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. No problem.
Because I didn't receive Mr. Sabellico's report until after our meetings.
So when you read the reports, when you read the reports, you came to a different conclusion, and you said, "Oh, look what's going on with the citizen. I want to be fair to him. I'll try to dismiss the charges for him."
No, you know what? Even in the light of Mr. Sabellico's report, I still would have been willing to discuss a resolution of it with you. I don't understand what one has to do with the other.
I'm just curious because, like I said, in my experience, the only time that anyone considers dismissing charges or making any type of settlement is when they realize the person's innocent. But all right, thanks.
But Rob, that is clearly not so. Charges are dismissed, and you're a police officer. You should know this. Charges are dismissed for any number of reasons.
I don't agree with that.
Okay, so we disagree.
Okay, last time I was here, you were gonna get some FOIL information together?
Yeah, I think we
You got that
did.
again?
Who's got it? Yeah, we have it.
Is it,
One FOIL request.
I'm sorry, do you mind if I call you Tom? So I don't mispronounce your last name, you can call me Bob, I mean, if it's okay. Tom, 22771?
Well, I have 20062 in front of me first, let's do that first.
Actually,
You asked about FOIL request 20062 and FOIL request
hold on a second, Tom, give me a second.
2277.
Actually, if you don't mind, I'd just like to do 2271 first. That's okay. It's pretty simple, we'll get it right out of the way. The question I have about this FOIL request is, I submitted a complaint back in January of 2014 on made an allegation that Donna Swanson was parking her boats on un-paved surface of a property, and shortly afterwards, on April 26, 2014, I made a Freedom of Information request, and I asked for any documents. I realized they'd be closed documents, or any documents from the closed investigation, I should say, that were generated by my complaint and any subsequent investigation that might have been done. I know that there was a press release that Martha Kane, I think her name is, stated that, I actually have a release with me here, that when somebody went to Miss Swanson's house, there were no boats there. But what I'm curious about is when I did the FOIL request, I got a reply back that there were no documents that were produced in relation to my complaint. So I just know from my own personal experience that every time a code inspector goes on an investigation, they fill out a code compliance inspector's report. I mean, obviously the photographs and the complaint that I sent in should be, you know, recorded and FOIL material. So my question was, why did I get a response back that there are no documents, no such documents?
Okay. The FOIL request was received in April, and it was acknowledged, timely acknowledged, and I think it was responded to in June in 2004. So about 9 months ago, you received a response that there was no record of any violations in the Department of Planning and Development at that address. That was the response to the FOIL.
Right, there was no records, right?
Excuse me?
There were no records, right?
There were no violations in the department of that address.
The letter is a response to your request for information pursuant to Freedom of Information law sent to this office for any and all information for any notice of violations and summons produced by the town of Oyster Bay, 59th Street, Walden Place. The results of our search view. I'm sorry, Tom. Let me just step back a second. Because, Tom, I understand what you're saying, but do me a favor and just go back to the original FOIL of April 26, 2014, and what you'll realize is the town's response from June 4th is not a response to everything that I requested back in April. If you read it, it says, I request to review and inspect. To review and inspect all records included but not limited to any notice of violations and summons produced by the town of Oyster Bay in relation to the town's request for investigation complaint form and purposely submitted to the office of the town, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I'm asking to see all records including but not limited to any notice of violations and summonses. So if you're prepared to tell me that this response is that there is simply no violations and summonses issued, that, I mean, I can understand that, that's great, but that's not including but not limited to any other records. I mean, I know for a fact that it should be other records, that's what I was looking for. Maybe,
Well,
go ahead.
I guess you're stating that you know for a fact there will be records, but that's not the case. In conducting a response to your claims against the employees of the town, I had occasion to speak to the department and ask, with respect to this, what happened. They said that they took a look at the property and they did not see the boats at the time, so there was no violation.
So Tom, tell me, why didn't they fill out this code compliance inspector's report?
Well, the fact that I can't answer that question.
Well,
I can say,
we're really drifting here. See, this is what happens all the time. You had a response to a FOIL request. He told you the basis upon which the response was given. And that's it. That's the answer. If you have any other problems with it,
well,
I don't know what to say.
He didn't really tell me the basis. I mean,
I'm asking for all the records that were included in my complaint on this specific property.
He told you there are records. He just got done telling you that.
Okay, okay. So all I said out of curiosity is, from my personal experience, I know that when a code enforcement agent goes on a call, let's call it, I don't know, that he's supposed to fill this out. So there's a possibility, let me finish what I'm saying. Let me finish what I'm saying. Let me finish what I'm saying.
From your personal experience, people never dismiss charges. That's just,
That's not what I said either, John.
That's not my personal experience.
John, that's not what I said.
You said from your personal experience, A, B, C, and D. Well, unfortunately, your personal experience doesn't define this. He said, you asked, he answered the question, there are no documents, let's move on.
Okay, so I'm sorry, but I can't just move on, okay? Because I'm entitled to an answer. I'm a little confused. I just want to make sure that I have everything straight in my head. I made a complaint. It was investigated. There was no violations done, but apparently, or possibly, the code enforcement investigators that for instance, I asked for any documents that were created in relation to this complaint. Do you know who the code enforcement inspectors were that responded to this?
No, I do not.
Because there were no documents, right?
There are no records.
Right. So that's my point. This is the reason I'm bringing this to your attention. I didn't send this complaint through 15 offices to the town of Oyster Bay. I sent this complaint directly in to the planning and development. So here's my question: how can I make a complaint and there be no record of it anywhere? Okay. That's the question, John.
Okay, understood.
So there's no answer how I can make a complaint and there be no record?
He's already answered the question regarding the records. That's it.
You want to go to 22,796? Oh, I'm sorry. You're right, Tom. You're right. It's the wrong one.
20062.
You're absolutely right, Tom.
So I looked at the 20062. There was a FOIA request received on May 1st of 2012, over 3 years ago, and it was responded to on June 6th of 2012. And there was no appeal of it, but 3 years ago you asked for the names and contact information of the members of the Board of Ethics. You were told there were 3 resolutions appointing them. There was a 75-cent fee, you paid for it, and you were provided with the 3 resolutions. Your second question in your FOIA request was for a copy of the official Town of Oyster Bay instructions, policies, and forms for lodging a complaint of ethics violations and/or criminal actions and any such type of complaint by a civilian. And your answer that there are no such records because the code does not set forth a specific complaint form, nor do we maintain a specific complaint form. So there are no records.
Okay. And I appreciate your input. I didn't get a chance to get into this at the last meeting because we got sidetracked, but see, the reason I was questioning this specific FOIL request is, first of all, I find it incredible that the town doesn't have a process in place for anyone to make any type of complaint against town employees. I mean, I don't understand that at all, but that's your policy, that's okay. But the town code on the ethics does explain how ethics complaints are made. And now my point with this is, in response to this FOIL request, I got back some documents for the town, and one of them is a inter-office memorandum from Linda Herman to Leonard Genova. And it was sent along with this FOIL request. And it says, please indicate in writing if your records have any information regarding the attached request. If so, please forward said records to this office within 5 days. Thank you for your cooperation. That's probably a standard thing when somebody does a FOIL request. But see, the reason I'm bringing it to your attention is it's the reply to this that I find incredible. In response to your inquiry dated May 8, 2012, attached to here too, you'll find copies of the 3 resolutions in connection with Part 1 of the above-mentioned request, which are the resolutions. Further, this office has no records pertaining to Part 2 of the above-mentioned request. If you have any questions concerning the foregoing, do not hesitate to contact the undersigned. Now, just for 1 second, when I wrote this report, when I wrote this FOIL, I wrote on here, if
If no such documents exist, I request a detailed written instruction explaining how to file such a complaint with the town of Oyster Bay. Now, I just find it incredible that this was sent to Len Genova's attention. He's the town attorney. And as far as the town attorney's office is concerned, I mean, obviously they knew at this point in 2012 I was interested in lodging an ethics complaint. I think it's inappropriate that you have a town code that explains the ethics board and how they work and how the complaints are worded, and I wasn't referred to this. Instead, the town attorney said there's no such records. I think there's an issue there.
Okay.
So my question is, I'm bringing it to your attention, but my question is also, do you think that the town attorney could have answered this FOIL a little differently?
No, I think we've answered the FOIL adequately, and that's the response.
Fair enough. All right, so I explained to you that I also went to the Maine Made-In meeting, and I found it very interesting. Some of the interesting things I found is that it appears that the chairman of the committee for the Historical Reservation Landmark Committee is Michael Spinelli, right? You familiar with that?
I know he's on the committee.
Yeah, I think he's the chairperson. And planning commissioner, the commissioner of planning and development, Frederick Ippolito, is on the commission also, the committee also, Historical Preservation Committee. Yeah, the day I was there, Tim Zeich was sitting in for me. So I'd like to know who issued the permit for the Maine Made-In construction.
I know it came from the department. I've never seen the permit. I know it came from the Department of Planning and Development, but I know it's likely the commission at the time, but I don't know for certain.
Well, I mean, maybe we could pull it right now. We could find out. Because I'd like to know who issued it.
We'll
Because
put it on our list, and we'll pull it, and we'll let you know.
okay. I had a chance to speak with the architect for the builders for the Maine Made-In at the meeting, Angelo Corvo, and he explained to me, and I'm not saying that he's right. I mean, ultimately you would be right. You would know, but he explained to me that, and you touched on a little bit earlier, that the permit was issued because the condition of the building was so severe that it was actually considered a dangerous building. That you had to circumvent the normal procedure of allowing the historical committee to review the permits and the building plans and everything before issuing the permit. Is that right?
That's not exactly what I said, but that's close enough.
Well, I'm going by what Angelo told me.
Oh,
So that's why I said I'm not holding you to it.
Characterize
Yeah. So no. So I wanted to ask you, because you did make a reference earlier that there was a reason the permit was issued expeditiously without the committee being allowed to review everything.
I didn't say expeditiously.
No, I said that, but you said there was a reason for the permit to be issued without the committee being made aware.
No, that's not what I said. I think what I said was, under the Landmark Preservation Commission, there are provisions in there how to deal with emergency situations and a situation where the building is dilapidated like this. And it's a judgment call. And, you know, it was done the way it was done. And when it was discovered by the town board how it was done, they decided to send it back to the Landmarks Preservation Commission.
So, was the building classified a dangerous building?
I don't know. We'll have to go check the records. I don't know.
Is there any way that, would you know, I mean, I've read the town code, I have it with me on the Landmark Preservation Committee, but I don't see that part in there where you just explain that you could, you know, act without notifying the committee if there's an emergency or whatever.
I don't have the code in front of me, but I seem to recollect that there are provisions in there that deal with the situation that perhaps my recollection is a little similar.
See, the only provision that I could find would be if the building was considered a dangerous building. Okay. And
I think we're referring to the same provision.
Oh, okay. So my point is, if the building was considered a dangerous building, there's some things that the town should have done by their own code. There's an investigation report that should have been done, and it should have been forwarded to the owner of the building. It basically, from what I can understand from your code, it says upon receipt of information that a building or structure may be dangerous, The commissioner shall cause an investigation of the premises to be made, an inspection report submitted and filed in the office of said commissioner. After the report is filed in his office, and if the report shall confirm the existence of a dangerous building or structure as defined in this code, the commissioner shall cause a notice to be served upon the owner or his execute his legal representatives, having vested a continued interest as specified, and the notice shall contain a description of the premises, which shall include the section, block, and lot number, a statement of the particulars in which the building or structure is unsafe or dangerous, the manner in which the building or structure is to be made safe, and an order requiring the same to be vacated and or made safe and secured or demolished and removed. So I'm just curious, if the building was considered a dangerous building and the permit was issued without going through the normal channels of the Historical Preservation Committee, did the town do this investigation and do these reports?
Rob, I don't know the answer to the question. I have to go back. Can you shed some light on it, Tom? I mean, I don't personally have knowledge.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm going to defer to the Deputy Commissioner of Planning and Development this year, but my take on this is that Mr. Ripp is using terms of art and law and confusing them for common English. The dangerous buildings that he's reading from is Chapter 96 of the code. And usually it's a situation where the owner and the town are at odds as to whether the building is dangerous or not. If this situation was one that Commissioner Ippolito or the department determined required a redress in an emergency situation, you wouldn't necessarily declare it a dangerous building or put placards on the building or require that it be boarded up. If he's working in compliance with the owner, who's ready to take actions to save the building, you wouldn't necessarily declare it a dangerous building in 9620. The fact that you haven't declared it a dangerous building under Chapter 96 doesn't mean it's not dangerous in the terms that you and I would use, but it's a term of law. And I think we're confusing the term of law with what the common use is.
Okay, so there's
No, I'm not confusing that at all. I mean, actually I did speak to Tim Zeig at the meeting there, and he told me that he didn't have an opinion of this then, or he didn't know then. But what I don't understand is, I mean, again, the architect explained at the meeting that they had to start work immediately because the building was considered dangerous. Okay.
Well, again, being considered dangerous and being declared a dangerous building under Chapter 96 are two distinct things.
Oh, and how would you make the differential between the two?
I think I've just explained that.
Rob, he just explained it to you. How far?
No, I'm a little bit lost. Like if you had to issue this permit immediately because they wanted to, and this is again coming from the architect, they wanted to demolish, to demolish, to knock the whole building down. That's what he said. It was so bad that they want to knock the whole building down. If you, all right, forget about it. The only other question I have in relation to the made in is, I for the life of me, I just can't understand if the permit came out of the Office of Planning and Development, and the Commissioner of Planning and Development is on the committee for the Historical Landmark Preservation Society. How is it that nobody on that committee knew that permit was issued? That was the question. You didn't get it?
No, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I'll say it again. Maybe you're not listening to me. I'm just curious if Commissioner Ippolito is...
No. I've listened to every word you said since you got to the podium. I don't understand the question.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you understood it. My bad. All right, so my question, John, is if Commissioner Ippolito is Commissioner of Planning and Development, and he also sits on the Historical Preservation Landmark Committee, how could that permit have been issued and no one on the committee have known that it was issued?
Well, I don't even know where to begin with this. I don't know that anyone on the commission didn't know. I don't know what the members...
Oh, I do. I was at the meeting. The people on the Committee for Landmark Preservation, that was the point of the emergency meeting. They were demolishing the building and nobody in the committee knew about it.
Right, but you're asking...
You know what, John? I have to interrupt you for a minute because I'm glad you did that, because I just want to bring this to a point to you, because this is something that I saw in the videos, and I hope that you don't realize this. But whenever we speak, you mimic me constantly, and I find it very rude and tasteless. You just did it right then. You do it all. You know what, John? I'm not going to argue with you about it. Watch the videos.
Okay, let's move on. Let's not argue about it.
Okay.
You're asking me how could someone on the committee not? I don't know what the members of the commission knew. I don't know when they found out about it. And if Commissioner Polito is an active member of the committee, I don't even know that, by the way. Is it the commissioner or his designee? I didn't really know what the rules are. But even if one member of the commission knew it, it doesn't mean the other members of the commission knew it as well. I can't possibly answer that question. I don't know what other people know.
I know that. So,
But
okay.
you see, Rob, who's mimicking and mocking now?
I'm not mocking anybody. I'm thinking to myself.
Come on, you're making snide comments. You're laughing. Come on.
I just find it incredible that you don't want to release the person's name who issued the permit.
I never said that.
Well, from what I understand, it hasn't been released to anyone.
I haven't seen the permit. I probably shouldn't even do this. I said it's likely that it was signed by the commissioner. I don't know what else you want me to tell you.
So I'm just, to me, it just strikes me as odd. And you see, you wouldn't know this, and I don't expect you to know this, but the Scotto brothers reached out to me.
Okay.
Okay, so what I find is odd is that if Commissioner, and I'm not making any allegations, but this is something I think that maybe you should look into. If the Commissioner of Planning and Development issued this permit to the people that wanted to do this demolition and construction, and he issued it to them, I mean, he knew that was going to happen. He knew what they were going to do. He had to know that the Committee for Historical Preservation, I mean, he's on the committee, might have something to say with it. I'm just curious. I mean, I've heard this question raised a couple of times, and the only answer I haven't heard is, you know what, we're going to look into that and find out how that happened and make sure it doesn't happen again.
I'm not looking into anything.
I know.
You've given me nothing to look into. Well, I don't understand. You're saying to me, I'm just not going to go through the same stuff again.
I asked you if we could possibly have a public ethics board meeting, and you replied that that's something that's basically unheard of in local government.
I don't know that I don't think I gave that reply. I don't recall giving that reply.
Okay. Well, again, you can watch the video.
But I think, watch the video. I think what I said was, why don't we wait till issue is joined? It's within the power of the Board of Ethics to decide whether or not they want to conduct a public hearing. But why don't we at least wait till issue is joined? I didn't say.
I'm sorry, what issue?
What issue?
What issue? The issue of having a public meeting? You see, what I think the misinterpretation is here, I'm not requesting a public ethics board mission to in any relevance to any ethics complaint that I made on Commissioner Polito or anyone else. I mean, take this from my standpoint. We spoke about this at the last meeting, okay? I had some questions about the ethics board and everything. I wanted to have a meeting. And then the next day, I read a statement in the newspaper that Len Genova is quoted as saying that he hasn't attended an ethics board meeting since 2012, which is when he was voted on to the ethics board. Okay, so the reason that I want to have an ethics board meeting is I have questions for the ethics board, how they operate. I mean, if Len Genova hasn't been to a meeting since 2012, I mean, again, I asked you a couple of meetings ago whether it could have been possible that Len Genova had seen Commissioner Polito's financial disclosure statements, and we agreed it could be possible. Well, obviously it's impossible now because he's never been, oh no, I shouldn't say that, maybe they do that at home or something. But he has, my point is he hasn't attended a meeting, so I'd like to know. For instance, when I asked you earlier, if the board members get paid or if they get medical benefits for being on these boards. I mean, I don't know, maybe the board met without Mr. Genova, but if no board meetings met for 3 years and they're getting paid, I mean, that sounds like a no-show job, I don't know.
I don't think they're getting paid.
You told me earlier that the board members get a fee.
No. You see, here we go, Robert. I have to tell you, you asked me about the planning advisory board, not about the board of ethics.
No, I have it right here. I asked the town zoning, planning advisory, and the ethics board. I have it right here.
Okay, let's continue.
Okay.
Before the record, I believe that PAB members get paid. I do not believe landmark preservation gets paid, and I said we would look into that, and Board of Ethics does not get paid. I told you that, I remember I said to you, I was a member of the Board of Ethics. I did not get paid. I turned to Tom Sabellico. I said, Tom, has that changed? He said no.
All right,
We're going on the same ground.
Can you tell me, has there been an ethics meeting since?
Well, I told, what's that?
Has there been a Board of Ethics meeting since 2/12?
I don't know.
Can we find out for the next?
Find out for the next meeting.
All right, thanks a lot, John. It's nice talking to you.
Rob, it was nice talking to you. I don't believe so. Do you have any other?